Hello, and welcome to Creating a Project in Quartus. In this lecture, I'm going to show you how to use the Quartus tool, which is provided by Altera to develop and program the D10 Nano or any other type of Altera development board. And on this development board, we are going to be using various different devices. And specifically in this course, I'm going to be using the DE10 Nano development board. However, other development boards may possibly work, and when you create a project, it's going to follow the same sort of format. On this board, we will be using the 8 user LEDs, which are located right below the Ethernet jack. We've got 2 user push buttons we'll be using. We also have multiple slide switches we'll be using as well. So between the slide switches, the push buttons, and the LEDs, we'll be using all of these in conjunction specifically for our first project of buttons and LEDs. For the very first project, we'll be using the 2 user push buttons and the 8 LEDs. So within Quartus, if you open up Quartus, you'll notice that there is and if it's the first time, you won't see it, but after you've opened it multiple times and you've created projects, they have a recent projects that pop up. If you select one of these, it'll take you to any one of these projects, and it's kind of like a quick little here's a quick fast forward to get to that project. You can also go to File, Open Project, and it'll bring up the Open Project wizard, and it looks for the .qpf file or the Quartus project file. Go ahead and cancel. Now, in order to create a brand new project, we are going to use the new project wizard. And this new project wizard is what you'll use when you want to create any type of project. It goes through and asks you all the different questions. Specifically, the most important is what is the device you're using, where do you want to save the project, and all that type of information. So if we go to the new project wizard, we can click it from there. We can also go to File, New Project Wizard. So there's multiple ways you can get there. If you click on the New Project Wizard, this just brings up the first page, tells you an introduction of, they're just telling you all the settings we're going to set. The project name and directory, name of the top level design, project files and libraries, target device, family and device, EDA tool settings. So we'll say click next. And what is the working directory for this project? So we need to select where do we want this project to be located. So we'll click on the ellipse on the right, and we are going to select where do we want this project to take place. So I'm going to put it in a directory, and I'll create a new folder, and we will call this buttons underscore and LEDs. So we will create our project in this directory we have selected right here, buttons and LEDs. And what is the name of the project? We're going to call it button LED. You can give it any type of name. And they're going to ask what is the name of the top level design entity for this project. This name is case sensitive and must exactly match the entity name in the design file. So for this right here, we need to specify what is the actual design file we're using. And I'm providing the button LED.vhd, where the top name entity is button underscore LED. So if you're using the design file I have provided, you'll want to use this naming convention right here. However, if you have your own design or your own custom design you're using, whatever the top level of that name is or that entity is specifically what you'll want to use. So we'll go ahead and click next. And this is where we select the project type. We are going to go with an empty project. We're just going to start with from scratch. You can also start from a project template. And if you work with a lot of different projects, you can set up a template that sets the project in a specific manner. This is common if you create lots of projects and you're working with type of complex projects where there's a lot of settings you need to set, and this can save you a lot of time if you're creating multiple projects in a day, and instead of having to go through all the settings, you can just create a template. We'll go ahead and click next. We want to have the empty project. And here is where you can add files. If we want to add VHDL files or Verilog files, any type of design file, we can add those right here. However, we are going to do that later once we get inside the actual project. Once we create it, we will do that. So we're just going to click next and leave everything empty. Now is where we want to select the device and the board. So they do have support. If we go to board, there are several boards that they support. If you have the Atlas SoC, Cyclone V, there are several different development boards that you can select that if you just select one of these, they already have the device selected and all the other pertinent information regarding those devices. However, the DE10 Nano is not listed as an available board. So all that means is we cannot select the board, we have to select the actual device that's located on the DE10 Nano board, which the device that's located on there is the 5C SE BA6U23i7. So we can go ahead, and our family we know is the Cyclone V. We want to select that. And device will say all. And package, pin count, core speed, we'll leave these as any, but we're going to go with the name filter. So we're just going to go ahead and start typing the name of the device that's actually located on the DE10 Nano development board. So we know it's the 5C and as we start typing this, it's going to eliminate available devices. So the farther we type down, the more devices will eliminate it to. 5C BA6U 23i7. So now we type that all in. It leaves us 3 different devices. We have the 23i7, they got the DK and the S. So we want to select the top one, this 23i7. And if we notice, it tells us all of the different resources that are available, the number of I/O, general purpose I/O, different channels, if you have PCIe, memory controllers, memory bits, DSP blocks, PLLs, DLLs, global clocks, and high HPS CPU cores. So this device has the HPS, or the hard processing system CPU core. So there are 2 ARM cores in this device that we can access and use, which don't cost us any extra uses. If we use those, it doesn't cost us anything. They're already there. So we'll go ahead and click next. And here we can specify specific tool settings. If we have a specific synthesis tool we want to use, we're just going to leave it as none. Simulation, if you want to have it so you can export this to run it in Model Sim, or if you have a different sort of simulation tool, you can select that. For board level timing, symbol, we are going to leave all of these as just none, just by default. So we'll go ahead and click next. For all the projects we're doing, we don't need to worry about these particularly. We can play with those later, but for right now, all the projects we're doing, we'll leave them as none. We'll click next, and this just gives you a summary of the actual project. So when you click finish, it's telling you these are all the things that will be created inside that project. So the key thing is the device. That's really important, because if we go through and try to generate a programming file, but we have the wrong device selected, when you go to program it, it'll give you an error saying it can't accept it, because this project, when we build this, it'll only work for this specific device and no others. So I'm going to go ahead and click finish, and it's going to create our button LED project that with all the settings we have specified in the location we have specified. So now it's telling us we have this top level entity button LED. And if we click on it, it's telling us, hey, I cannot find a design entity button LED. And that's because we haven't created a design file, or we have not added a design file. So 2 ways we can get this button LED. We can do this. We can either A, add a design file. So in this case, we're going to go to File, and we will go to Project and Add, Remove Files and Project. So if we click on the Add, Remove Files and Project, this is where we can add a specific .vhd file. So if we click on where it says file name, you can type it in here, or click on the ellipses button, and then go ahead and you'll want to navigate to let's say a project, we'll say button LED. Then you can select this button LED and say open, and now that would then add this file to your design. But we're going to go ahead and create a new file. I'm going to show you how to do that. But if you want to add existing files, so for example, we're going to add this button LED.vhd file to our project. If we had multiple files we wanted to add, we would then just click on the ellipses button and go to a different location. So we'll go to Projects, and we will select this blinky LED. So now we have two files. We'd have the blinky LED and the button LED. And if we click Apply or OK and Apply, then it would see we have two files, and it would look for the entity that has this button LED name. But we're going to create a brand new file. So go ahead and click Cancel. And in order to do that, we will want to go ahead and select File and go to New. And this is where it brings up all the different options of the things we can add. So we can add there's all kinds of stuff here. HDL file, block diagram, schematic file, EDIF file, system file, state machine file, tickle scripts, Verilog, system Verilog, memory files, verification files, and other files. So there's a lot of different stuff that you can do within this tool, and all these different files you'll kind of see as we go through the process of adding to this and generating a programming file as well as programming the board. You'll get to see where all these files come into play. So what we're going to do is add this VHDL file. So if we click New VHDL file, select OK, this is going to create what they call just VHDL1.VHD. And so then at this point, you would then go ahead and you can use the editor to write your VHDL. So we could say, this is my VHDL file. And then at that point, you would go ahead and you're going to create your entity to match this button LED. So you can do that in two ways. You can copy and paste what I have provided for the button LED VHDL file, or you can go ahead and, as we go through all the different steps, you can go ahead and write and code this specific file to match what I'm doing in the project. So that is how you go ahead and create a project in Quartus, as well as create a VHDL file, which is then used to generate your programming file, which will load on the device itself.